About 30 to 45 seconds left to write down what do you know about hurricanes? Okay, so you can do this a couple different ways. You can either put it in the chat box, or if you would like to come on the audio, you can share as well. So I'm going to share really quick what some people wrote on the chat box. So you can either copy it in the chat, or you can, in just a second, come on the audio to share. So I see Augustus wrote, every time you, okay. So he wrote basically water tornadoes that cause destruction to stuff. They're huge. Wyatt said they flood cities. They have a really high winds, and they're kind of like water tornadoes. Bailey wrote, they're like tornadoes made of water that start in the ocean and usually end up on land. Ooh, that's a good detail. Usually found near tropical places. They're rated by numbers. 1 is the weakest, 5 is the strongest. The middle is called the eye. We've got, they're very dangerous and cause sea flooding. Awesome. Or they can wash many sea creatures onto the shore. Oh, yes, it's a very sad thing. Hurricanes. You know that they're deadly. Know that hurricanes come from the ocean, and we really don't ever have them to Minnesota. You're correct. They flood city. They have high winds. They're like water tornadoes. They're dangerous. They're created over the sea. Think of a hurricane being a flood, thunderstorm, and a tornado combined. Ooh, so not just a tornado. Yes, because you actually can get lightning there's a lot of friction going on in hurricanes. So actually, you can get a lot of lightning in thunderstorms. Very dangerous and shouldn't be one. Eye of the hurricane is the only safe spot in the hurricane because it is blue sky in the eye. Okay, does anybody else have anything else they want to say on the audio about hurricanes?
To say it. I know that the eye, if you won't get like hurt if you're go through the eye, and it won't be that bad.
Okay.
I have something to add on to Riley.
Okay.
The reason why you won't get hurt in the eye of the hurricane is because there's because it's pretty much just blue sky in the middle of the hurricane. Because hurricanes are circular.
Yep.
So it just all revolves around the middle.
Okay. Anybody else have something to add on? Thank you, everybody who shared. Yeah.
I have something.
Yeah, Joshua?
I have something that I can say.
I think Joshua is going next, and then we'll have the next person.
Robert, you got.
Oh, Joshua, did you have something?
I'm not Joshua, I'm Noah.
Oh, Noah. Okay, sorry. I thought I saw Joshua's thing on that. So Noah, what do you have?
They can destroy, they can flood like a tsunami, they can wreck like a tornado, and they can kill a lot.
They can. Yep. Let's see, was that Berkeley that was trying to share next? Or Anna, did you have something to share? Okay, Lucas, did you have something to share?
Just looked up how hurricanes are created, and it's actually very interesting. Like,
how?
Basically, I forgot most of it. The evaporation floating up into the sky and then like revolving around.
Yeah.
And then the wind speeds move it over to the shore.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. I've got if you hold hands. So somebody actually kind of wrote in the chat, why the eye of the storm actually is created. So like, you know how you hold hands, or even if you're on a carousel and you spin really fast, you get kind of pushed out of the middle. So you're kind of pushed out. And that's actually what kind of happens with the hurricane, is that there's so much movement. And to go off of what Lucas was talking about, we actually have different pressures. So that's actually how a tornado works too, is we have different densities with hot air and cold air. So as you're going to find out in 6th grade, you've probably heard hot air rises, cold air sinks. So when we get two different temperatures of air, and this was what happens over a lot of times the ocean, which is where then it picks up the water, a lot of it ends up, the hot water moves down really quick, or the hot air moves down really quick, and the cold air, hot air rises, cold air sinks. So the cold air falls down and the hot air then gets pushed up. And so we kind of have this cycle that happens. And so yeah, hurricanes end up moving faster and faster.
So they like fight over the air.
Mm-hmm. And so, I see some people being a little off task in the chat. So let's make sure that we're still focusing on hurricanes. So that's why we don't really have too many of them in Minnesota, because we aren't next to that big of a body of water. Now, I want to think, so if you guys have been to Duluth, you guys have probably experienced how windy it is because they have that big body of water. Now, one of the things too is water actually has a hard time changing its temperature faster. So like if you like go out in the pool on a really hot day, the water sometimes is really cold. That's because it hasn't absorbed all the water. So if we got a big body of water like Lake Superior or the ocean, that's where that kind of cycle of where that hot air and that cold air ends up kind of pushing and cycling through. So that's why Duluth is so windy. You could almost even think of like mini hurricanes, because there are days that the wind is really, really strong. And it's not a full hurricane, because usually if you notice, when you watch the news, the hurricanes start really far out in the water, in the ocean, and then once they hit land, they don't have all that water and that changing temperature to help them keep going. So that's why then they die out once they get further and further into land. Sometimes we see the hurricane where it goes up the United States and then it kind of curves around and goes back in the water, and then it picks up speed. Things like that can actually make a hurricane faster or slower. So, we experience tornadoes because we have more wind and land. Down south, they're next to the ocean, so they have more hurricanes. You don't have to worry about it as much. You have to, usually, just like a tornado, you have to go and hide. A lot of times you have to go find a safe spot. So they have to be away from windows. A lot of times you see that they board up their windows. That's the same thing think of a lot that we do with tornadoes. You have to do that with hurricanes. And then, did you know a tornado has an eye of a storm too? It's not as big, but they technically have an eye of the storm just like hurricanes. So sizes are different. And then what you end up, whether it's water or wind and dirt or trees here, they're actually, very, very similar. Okay, so on your piece of paper, I want you then, I'm going to read you it's called they're called nonfiction texts, and I'm sure you've heard of nonfiction texts. Lucas, do you have something to add really quick?
Okay, but tornadoes have high wind speeds.
Correct.
And I'm pretty sure that's that's what they use to pick stuff up off the ground.
Yes.
But can hurricanes pick stuff up off the ground and throw them?
Yes, they can. So
okay, because I feel like a tornado is the wind speed wise is stronger than a hurricane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But hurricanes can still pick stuff up and throw them and throw stuff.
So another thing that's very similar, and somebody ended up mentioning it in the chat, is that same with our hurricanes, we actually have different kinds of hurricanes and tornadoes. So one is usually the weakest, And then 5 is usually the strongest. So actually we've got tornadoes that don't pick up stuff either, but if they're stronger, like on closer to a 5, they can pick up a lot more stuff. Same with hurricanes. A 1, not very strong, just a lot of wind. But if it's closer to a 5, then yes, that's where you see whole buildings that are picked up. Let's see, Madison ended up writing, a tropical hurricane is a rapidly rotating storm system characterized by a low pressure center. That's where I'm talking about with where the heat and our cold air sinks, hot air rises. And spiral arrangement of thunderstorms that produce heavy rain or squalls. Squalls are like big storms that produce rain. Lovely. Berkeley, did you have anything to add before we continue?
Yes, I do have something to add.
Uh-huh.
One time, my family, we go to North Carolina in the summer with our grandparents and our cousins.
Yep.
And one time when we went to North Carolina, we had to leave like a week early because of a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of saw the start of it, but not like a lot.
Okay.
It was like, but we had to leave early because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just kind of like a tornado. You don't want to be caught in the middle. The nice thing with hurricanes is they get a little bit more of an announcement. Okay. So what we're gonna do is,
I have a question.
Yeah, what's your question real quick?
Do hurricanes have like levels, like tornadoes have 5 or 4, like how big it is?
Yep, they do. So they're just like tornadoes that way. Yep. So this is what we're gonna do is I have a short article here that I'm gonna read out loud. So you're not gonna be able to see it. What you're gonna do in just a moment is you're gonna write 3 things down that you learned. Now, this is a nonfiction text. So our story on the, sorry, you're seeing all my math notes and stuff too. Story on the earthquake terror. That one was more of a fictional story. So that was based off of some nonfiction text. I can't find it in my book. It was based off of a nonfiction text, but it actually was just a story. This is considered nonfiction. So this one means that it has facts. It has information about hurricanes. Now, some things I want to point out if you think back to our story of the earthquake terror, we had a lot of pictures, we had a lot of paragraphs, and with a nonfiction text, if you notice, we have a couple different things. We have our title, which is what we had in our fiction, and then who it's written by, okay? But we also have mini titles, okay? So if you have even like a textbook, like a science or a social studies textbook, these titles actually are going to tell you some important information. So if you notice, this is kind of what we're going to end up talking about today. What is a hurricane? So it's going to give us some basic information about a hurricane. We're going to read then how they form. Some of you guys already had that information. Maybe you'll learn some new stuff. Journey of a hurricane. So how does it move? Okay. And then we have another title, Hurricane Danger and Protective Measures. Ooh, so we didn't talk about preventative measures too much, but we're going to find out a little bit more about them. Okay, so think about when you see a nonfiction text like this. Like I said, we've got titles. So this actually is going to tell us what we're going to read about today. And that can help us actually, if we have to have like a comprehension, like a quiz, like we did the other day, we can actually easily figure out where to find it because it'll be located under, oh, nope, my screen's not going to flip. It's going to be located underneath one of these things. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? Awesome. So what I want you to do while I'm reading this, and maybe you've already learned some new things, okay? We're going to look at other natural disasters here in a little bit. Remember, we've got hurricane, tornadoes, I don't think monsoons. There's one other one. I got to think about it. But as I read this, I want you to write down 3 things that you learned about hurricanes, okay? Sound like a plan? Everybody know what we're doing? 3 things that you are going to learn about, that you learned about hurricanes on your pace paper or on Notability, wherever you wrote down. Actually, I want you to write this on a piece of paper or in Notability. So if you wrote it in the chat last time, make sure that you're just writing it on a piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to start reading. You just have to listen and write down 3 things you've learned. Hurricanes, Weather at its Wildest by Frank Hodgkins. Okay, trying to think. I've never heard of Frank Hodgkins, but I have a feeling that since he's writing about hurricanes, then chances are he probably knows quite a bit about them. Okay. I'm going to switch one thing because I see some people still are not using this. I'm going to have you. I was just going to change the chats because I want you to be able to listen. Okay. So, what is a hurricane? Hurricanes are amongst the most dangerous storms on Earth. With wind speeds of over 150 miles an hour, hurricanes can become spinning wheels of wind and water, 300 to 500 miles wide. These massive storms can rip the roofs off buildings, wash seaside homes into the ocean, and turn streets into rivers. Hurricanes can cost millions of dollars in damage and disrupt thousands of lives. Every year, about 6 hurricanes form in the Atlantic Ocean. Since 1953, scientists have given these hurricanes human names. There are 6 alphabetical lists of names, and each list is reused every 6 years. Especially damaging storms may have the names retired from the list. I'm going to answer all of your questions at the end, so maybe write them down if you have them. Okay, so again, they have 6 names that they use every 6 years. So first year they have 6 specific names, second year they have 6 specific names, third year they have 6 specific names, fourth, fifth, and then they reuse them. Okay? Those are for the really strong ones. How do hurricanes form? Hurricanes are born over warm ocean water, such as the water near the equator. This warm water evaporates into the atmosphere, adding heat and moisture to the air. As the ocean winds spiral this moist air upwards and inward, the storm gains energy. Clouds and winds increase, and thunderstorms may occur. Once the storm's spiraling winds reach 74 miles an hour, it is officially a hurricane. Okay. I'll pause there. Maybe there's something in those that you would like to write down. You can write more than 3 things too. Okay, I'm going to continue. Journey of a hurricane. If you observed hurricanes from space, you would see a gigantic clear of clouds rotating counterclockwise. So that means they're going to travel east to west. So they only go one certain way. In the center, you would see one of the most remarkable parts of a hurricane, its eye. Unlike the storm around it, the eye is relatively calm, with winds reaching only about 15 miles an hour. So it still has winds. It may even be cloudless. If you stood at the bottom of the eye and looked up, you would feel as if you were at the bottom of a giant well. The eye wall, the part of the hurricane that surrounds the eye, can tower 50,000 feet into the sky. Hurricanes are always on the move, swept along over the ocean by prevailing winds. Hurricanes that form in the southern Atlantic move at a speed about 5 to 15 miles per hour. So that means they can move north, back and forth. So not how fast they spin, but just how they move, okay? About 5 to 15 miles an hour.
Wait, the eye of the storm has 50 miles per hour of wind, or how?
15 miles an hour of wind, yep. Okay, so most Atlantic hurricanes that threaten the United States are pushed by the Bermuda High. It's called a high pressure zone that pulls the storms away from the coast and back over the ocean. When it's pulled back over the cold North Atlantic, so it starts in where it's warm by the tropics and is pushed north, and when it gets pushed more north, okay, by like New York and Philadelphia, by the cold North Atlantic, the hurricane loses its energy and dissipates. That means it kind of disappears. A strong hurricane, however, can resist the influence of that high pressure zone, so that different pressure. And that's when people on shore find themselves in the path of the storm. All right, so this is our last section, hurricane danger and protective measures. Okay. Millions of people living along the east and Gulf Coast of the United States can be in serious danger when a storm threatens. High winds can uproot trees, knock down power lines, and hurl loose objects through the windows and walls. High waves and torrential rainfall, so that means a lot, like sheets of rain, can cause flooding, washing out roads, and even sweeping buildings off their foundations. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew hit South Florida and Louisiana and destroyed thousands of homes and businesses, causing more than $15 to $25 billion in damage. Not million, billion dollars. So 15 to 25 billion. To help prevent this type of disaster from happening again, scientists try to learn as much as they can about hurricanes. We have NASA, the National Aeronautic and Space Administration, for example, has developed a system of satellites that NOAA, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, uses to help track hurricanes and predict their movements. So they try to plan ahead and predict them. With the help of accurate tracking systems, timely hurricane warnings, and efficient evacuations, people can better dodge the paths of these dangerous storms. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, what's your question?
So it said how fast the hurricane goes, but I missed it. Can you check?
So they travel about 150 miles per hour. Okay. So what we're going to do is you've got 3 things written down. I'm going to put you in little mini groups, breakout rooms, okay, that have, actually, let's see. Okay, and what I want you to do is you're going to unmute and you're going to share what is something that you learned, okay? And be kind to each other because I did read kind of fast. If you need to clarify, so maybe you heard a number wrong, so like Riley, she confirmed with me, it was 150 miles an hour. So confirm with each other some of those facts, okay? So if you weren't quite sure on the facts, maybe you can say they move really fast. Did anybody hear how fast they move? Okay, or if they get the number wrong, just gently let them know. So I'm going to have you go to your breakout rooms. We're only going to be there for about, we'll say 6 minutes. And I want you to share what were those 3 facts. Make sense? Awesome. Okay. So you guys can go ahead and unmute and share. So go ahead and unmute, you guys, and share.
I shared.
You did? Awesome. Can somebody else share?
Very funny.
Okay, did you unmute and share?
3 things that I learned about hurricanes. The most dangerous storms are technically water tornadoes.
Okay, so unmute and share, you guys. Share your 3 things.
I shared and someone else
Same.
shared.
Perfect. Keep going then, guys. You're doing great.
This is mine.
Did you guys share a little bit? Okay, unmute and share, you guys. We only have a little bit of time. Okay, did you guys share? You should unmute and share what you guys learned. Okay. I'll unmute you all. Okay, yay, go ahead and share.
I've shared.
Hi, did you guys have a question?
High wind can destroy a lot. Hurricanes are one of the most dangerous.
Did you guys have a question? No?
I don't have one.
Okay. I thought somebody put their hand up that said, I need help. So I just came by really quick. Okay. Great job. Did you guys finish? Augustus, did you have a question? You pushed the hand raise. No? Okay. Did everybody share?
Thank everyone except for Winter.
Okay. Winter, did you share?
I'm slow at writing.
Okay, that's okay. If you didn't finish, would you just be willing to say what you would have written?
I would have written, yeah.
Yay, we're back. Awesome. So I'm sorry if I interrupted anybody while you were sharing. I want you now to think about, so you guys wrote about 3 things that you learned about. Now, I want you just to think, you don't have to write it down, okay, because you're going to say it in just a moment, but I need everybody to think of something. I want you to think about, how are hurricanes and earthquakes different? So we learned about earthquakes. We talked about how they move, how they're made, where they usually are. How is that different than a hurricane? Okay, so don't tell me, because I'm gonna have you tell your groups again. I want everybody to think, how are hurricanes and earthquakes different? Maybe where? What do they use? Meaning, like, are they land, water?
That's easy.
You can think about, so where are they formed? Maybe, maybe location not only on like not above but think about maybe even below. Maybe what kinds of, are there the same people that are affected by hurricanes and earthquakes, or are those different people? And then maybe, how does it affect you? So how are hurricanes and earthquakes different? How do they maybe even measure it? Or how do they predict Okay, so think about how they're the same and different. Okay, I'm going to give you about 3 more minutes. I want you to talk with your group. Actually, I'll give you will it only give me 5? I'll give you about 4 minutes, and I want you to talk with your group and tell me, how are hurricanes and earthquakes different? Okay, so discuss it with your group.
Are in water, and then earthquakes are on land. Earthquakes can smash land together or pull it apart.
That is
Also, hurricanes are formed over water.
Did you say why they're different?
Actually, Jacob, they can predict earthquakes.
Oh.
Like animals and stuff. They predict them like probably like 5 seconds before they actually happen.
Ooh, so
True.
that is interesting. Ooh, you should.
True, but it gives you pretty little time to prepare for them.
But it's still better
Very
than
true.
nothing.
Still.
Did you guys share?
Carter did. We're still waiting for Winter to do.
Okay.
I don't know how hurricanes and earthquakes are different.
Let's think about let's see. How about the damage? Do you think they create the same amount of damage?
Probably not.
Probably not. So hurricanes, and we can even think about how big they are. Hurricanes, are they usually big or small? What do you think, Carter or Augustus or Winter? Are hurricanes usually really big or pretty small?
Really, really big.
Yeah.
Really big.
They're like 500, 600 miles. But earthquakes, remember how we kind of looked that they just kind of, they happen and just, they might happen in a long distance, but they might, but they're not necessarily, so like in California, not all of California is probably going to feel it, just the people that are right on the earthquake, right? But if you're even close by to the hurricane, there's a lot more people that might be more affected by it. So, okay. Think about how do they predict it? Okay, so maybe discuss how do they predict earthquakes versus hurricanes. Augustus, just letting you know, your screen is very distracting. If you're going to move around a lot, that's okay, because I know sometimes we have to move, but I would maybe then shut off your screen, okay? So next, Winter, Carter, and Augustus, I want you to talk about, can you predict them the same way, or do they have different ways of predicting them? Okay. How'd it go? Did you guys have a chance to talk?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. Hello. Okay, so a lot of you guys, I heard some really, really good things, you guys. So I want at least one person from each group to come on the audio, and I want you to tell us
I can share from our group.
one thing, or you can do 2 things, but at least one thing that you guys talked about. Okay, so let's see. I have Lucas first. Lucas, and actually that it helped. Let's use our digital hands. If you wanted to share. So right now I have Harper, Riley, Anna, and Ava. So if they were not in your group, maybe you would like to share, use your digital hand, because sometimes I don't always see it on the screen. So Harper, do you want to share something that your group said?
What?
Sure. Our group talked about how you can't see the earthquakes, but you can see the hurricanes.
Ooh. So that visual piece is very different. Ooh, I like that.
And another thing is that earthquakes start from land, and hurricanes start from water.
I like it. Now, you guys, if she said something that you said, it's okay if you repeat it because that means it's probably something that really stuck with you guys. Riley, what did your group say?
My group said that earthquakes are formed on land, and hurricanes start above the water, and they can travel to land. So yeah, that's what my group said.
Perfect. Anna, what did your group say?
They said that earthquakes, the floor moves, and in hurricanes, it's like a storm.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Harper, what did your group say?
Already went.
Oh, sorry, your hand was still up. Ava, what did your group say?
Say the same thing as Harper.
Can you repeat it? Because chances are that's something that really stuck with you. Could you repeat that?
It was that I said where hurricanes start from the water and then earthquakes start on Earth.
Perfect. Jacob, what did your group talk about?
So me and Riley are in the same group, but I have something to add on.
Okay.
So for hurricanes, they use NOAA to predict them. So NOAA.
Very funny,
works with
Jacob.
that.
Very funny.
Except
Very funny.
it's not NOAH, it's NOAA. But then did you guys talk about how they kind of predict earthquakes?
Yeah. Yeah, and animals predict earthquakes 5 seconds before.
Yeah, so a little
That's
bit
what
different.
Noah said. I did not. Noah said that animals predict them. I didn't.
Okay.
I said that
This is
Noah
true.
predicts.
This is true.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
I
Okay.
said that Noah predicts hurricanes.
It's true. Okay, Matthias.
You can let Lucas do the talkie since he was in our group.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say, earthquakes don't always form on land. They can form underwater.
That is very true. So that is something that we didn't talk about, but yeah, it's not. So we got a little bit of then that differences of hurricanes
rare,
forming
though.
on top, and then yeah, earthquakes can form underwater too.
It's rare.
Actually, it's not very rare. It happens quite a bit.
Tsunamis.
Yeah, we just don't feel them. Lucas, do you have something to add?
Earthquakes last a lot, or like a lot shorter than hurricanes. They ask for only like 20 seconds or maybe less even, and hurricanes last for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Hurricanes.
I didn't
And
think of that.
so, I feel like hurricanes are more destructive than earthquakes too, because since they last longer, also there's a lot of like wind speeds and flooding and stuff like that. While
Okay.
earthquakes take around for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, so maybe, and a lot of it too is that location. So I mean, if you have an earthquake in the middle of the ocean, like oh my goodness, Matthias had said, it's not going to affect a lot of people, but if you've got it on land, it might affect. Same with hurricanes.
Actually,
Causes tsunami.
Mhm.
yeah, it causes tsunami sometimes.
It can. You're right.